Carrie Harper and I'm Plaid Cymru's candidate for the upcoming Assembly election. I'm a candidate in Wrexham for the vote on May the 5th. I live in Carrie Park with my partner and our two children. I'm a former county councillor and currently a community councillor in Carrie. I think we're seeing huge problems within the NHS and particularly at the Miler as well. We're seeing people having to wait 14 hours in A&E. We're seeing ambulances queuing up outside. And the biggest reason for that is that we've seen a loss of beds, at least 50 we've lost from the Miler over the last 5 years. At the same time as we've seen a 15% increase in terms of the amount of patients that need treatment. So there are big issues there for us to tackle. But unfortunately, what we're seeing from the Labour government is that they're burying their head in the sand over this. We've got a huge problem in terms of recruiting doctors. We've got costed plans in our manifesto to recruit and train 1,000 doctors and 5,000 new nurses, which will ease pressure on NHS staff who are facing immense pressures at the moment trying to work in these circumstances. And what we need to do is acknowledge what the issues are in order to move forward. Plaid Cymru are doing that, but I think Labour have still got a way to go, unfortunately. We would maintain maintenance loans, but we would change the tuition fee system. We don't think that the current system is sustainable. We've essentially got a system at the moment that sees 100 million of Welsh Government money go across the border that essentially funds universities in England. So we don't think that's going to be sustainable in the longer term. What we would do is introduce something called a learning bond. So people could study to choose anywhere in the UK, but for those graduates who choose to come and live and work in Wales after they've graduated, within 5 years, we would pay off their student debts. And we think that's a better system for a number of reasons, but primarily it retains skills, vital skills within the Welsh economy. I think there are issues within education in Wales. We're performing worse than any other area of the UK in terms of reading, in terms of maths, in terms of science. There are big problems there. I think one thing that we can do is reduce the attainment gap, and we plan to do that by introducing free childcare, free education from 3. There's an offshoot of that in terms of helping local parents with childcare as well. That would save people on average £100 a week. So there are things we can do there to help that situation. And as well, we'd introduce a teacher premium. So we would reward our best trained teachers with 10% on top of their existing wages in order to encourage better standards. I think looking at the situation we've got in Wales at the moment, what we're seeing is a consistent managed decline. I think we need to transform that situation. We need to turn it round. We need people in government who've got ideas, who are ambitious, who've got aspirations, who want to build a nation. We need to stop the backward slide that we've got at the moment. And I think Plaid Cymru has got the ideas to get us from A to B. Those ideas are there in detail. They're costed in our manifesto. I'd encourage people to go and read that. It's time for change. We need a change of government in Wales, and Plaid Cymru is the change that Wales needs. In terms of the market specifically, I think there's been a controversial issue in terms of proposals for an arts hub at the People's Market. And whilst I'm 100% behind the arts, I think it's been a controversial issue for a number of reasons. We've seen the council, for instance, put 1.5 million into that project at a time when we're losing other services, community centres are shut in, we're seeing £500,000 potentially cut off children's services. We've got other organisations like Splash Magic, for instance, who are asking the council for help with a backlog of maintenance that they've been left with. They can't get anywhere, but they've found 1.5 million for this. So I can sympathise with people's concerns. I accept that things like arts and culture are not always going to be self-sustaining. But I think there are issues with the business plan. When you look at a situation, there are forecasts that the ARSOB will lose 400,000 in its first 3 years. I think that's an issue. And where I'd really take issue is in terms of the way the market traders have been treated throughout this whole process. I've sat in meetings in the Guildhall and I've watched market traders plead with the council for them to tell them what is my situation going to be in a few months' time? Am I going to have a livelihood? Is there a future for me with my market stall in Wrexham? And the response they've had is absolutely disgusting. That's the only way I can put it. They've not had answers. They've been kept in the dark. And unfortunately, I think the issue with the markets in Wrexham, it's been a top-down approach. They haven't got that local buy-in, and I think that's where the key challenges are going to be going forward to try and put that right. Ultimately, I don't see a scenario where we should say that there are any powers that shouldn't be devolved to Wales. We're perfectly capable of standing on our own two feet. We're perfectly capable of being independent at some stage in the future. And I'd like to see us have all the levers possible in order to get our economy moving and to do everything we can do to bridge that current economic gap that we've got between Wales and the rest of the UK. I think we need to do that urgently. I think that there are already things that the Welsh Government can do in terms of business rates. We can extend the business rate relief scheme. Plaid Cymru's got a long-standing policy to do that, and we'd take 70,000 Welsh businesses out of paying rates altogether. It would benefit 80,000 businesses in total. So I think that there is more that we need to do. We see in Wrexham we've got big issues in terms of empty shops. So it's a key lever that we've already got that unfortunately we aren't using. So I think we need to make better use of the powers that we've got to benefit small businesses across Wales. I think it's a very difficult situation at the moment. We're seeing lots of cuts coming from the UK government in London. It's difficult to offset some of those issues. I think there's more we can do in terms of business creation, in terms of encouraging existing businesses by things like extending the business rate relief scheme that will allow existing businesses as well to take more people on. I think it's got to be a package of measures to allow us to allow small businesses to grow. I think personally, I would say my involvement in politics has been accidental. I'm not a career politician. I got involved through grassroots campaigning. I joined Plaid Cymru because I could see that they were the party who were involved at that level, who were making a difference and who were listening to local people. And I think that perspective and that approach is an important one. I think that's what I can bring to the table. Well, I'd like to see a Plaid Cymru government, and I'm sure you're going to hear every candidate say the same thing. I think people haven't cast any votes yet, and potentially there will be discussions about possible coalitions after the election, but I don't think now's the time really to discuss that. I can't see that we'd be in a situation where we would have a coalition with the Tory party. I think we're fundamentally opposed on a number of different policies in terms of what they stand for. I would say exactly the same with UKIP. I think what we need is strong leadership. We're not seeing that from Labour at the moment, so that there are big issues there. I think what we would need to see is policies to strengthen our NHS. That's hugely important. Plaid Cymru are putting those on the table. I'm not seeing that coming from other parties, to be perfectly honest. I think that there's more we can do in terms of recruitment and looking towards the EU. I think health boards haven't done as much as they could do in terms of looking there for a solution. Longer term, we need better planning in terms of workforce recruitment. We've known for a number of years that we were going to have this problem with a shortage of doctors. And as I've said, the Labour government, unfortunately, have buried their head in the sand. I think we can incentivise more people to train as doctors through policies like our learning bond, where we write off student debt for skilled people who come and work in Wales. I think we need a medical school. We would have a medical school in North Wales to attract those that specialist training here as well.